back to the 19th Sport Universe podcast. It's me, Brian, and I'm joined with Nick.
What's going on, guys? Sorry.
Okay, so as everyone knows, week one of NFL is underway, so that's going to be our main focus of the podcast today, since there's a lot to talk about. A lot of big things going on in week one. So I guess we'll just get started. There's a few injuries that we wanted to talk about. First off, the Nick Foles injury. So, Nick Foles, if you didn't know, joined the Jaguars this offseason, and in his first game, he got injured and is out for the season. And I'm kind of like a Nick Foles fan, I'd say. I don't know if it's like a soft spot for him or just like the way he played for the Eagles in the playoffs and coming in clutch and all that stuff. Even though I'm not an Eagles fan, seemed like a nice guy. I don't know. How do you feel about Nick?
It's kind of tragic. I would say I'm a Nick Foles fan too, since he was originally on the Eagles way back when.
Yeah.
When he made it for his Pro Bowl. I never got his card in Madden, so I've liked Nick Foles ever since then. Yeah, it's tough to see a broken clavicle. We've seen similar injuries happen before. I actually didn't watch the game, so I didn't know how he got injured, but I'm assuming somebody fell on him, he broke his clavicle or something along those lines.
Yeah.
It happened to Aaron Rodgers last year, the year before. I forget.
I think it was 2 years ago.
A pretty decently common injury for quarterbacks in the NFL.
Uh-huh.
On the positive side for the Jaguars, Gardner Minshew stepped up, who I don't know if you listeners watch him, but I'd recommend him. His name is Zach Schomer. He runs Strong Opinion Sports. I personally like the stuff that he puts out. He's very analytical in the way he approaches things, and he was a big Gardner Minshew guy. So I was happy for him because he said he was going to do well in the NFL. I'm happy for him. Happy for Jaguars fans that Gardner Minshew did pretty well. Then, sucks that they lost Nick Foles, but at least Minshew did well.
It was kind of funny. I mean, I guess not really funny for Nick Foles, but when I was watching the Jets game, like, they did a game break and showed, like, this amazing pass Nick Foles did, and then, like, a quarter later they did another game break and Nick Foles was walking off the field with an injury.
Yeah.
That's just how things go. The other big-ish injury, Tyreek Hill has also a hurt clavicle. It's not broken or anything. He doesn't need surgery or anything, but he's going to be out more than a couple of weeks, I think it said. So that's a big player that the Chiefs lost, even though I'd say Tyreek Hill kind of deserves something bad to happen to him, but that's just me. Anything to say about that?
Yeah, Tyreek Hill. I'm personally a fan of Tyreek Hill as a player. Things he does off the field, I can't condone. But on the field, I'm a huge fan of Tyreek Hill.
I think a lot of people.
Again, like, he's one of those big players in Madden that I like to use, as well as, like, he's really fun to watch in terms of his speed.
Yeah.
So it's a tough loss for the Chiefs, although I guess we can kind of go to this. I guess it's just recovering all of the, we were going to talk about the Jaguars-Chiefs game separately, but since I guess we're covering these two injuries happened in the same game, I might as well go through it. The Chiefs did pretty well without him after losing him. Sammy Watkins stepped up big time and put on a ton of yards. Damian Williams had a solid game for the Chiefs.
Oh, wow. I didn't see how many yards Watkins has.
Yeah, Watkins went off today, so
200 yards.
The Chiefs, I think they'll do fine without Hill, but although Hill is going to be a loss for them, Damian Williams did well. They got LaShawn McCoy. If you have LaShawn McCoy as your backup running back, you're probably in a decent situation, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. The game kind of got highly expected. The Jaguars' defense has been solid for a couple of years now, but their offense has been terrible. And that was kind of the story of the game. The Chiefs won it out. What was the final score of that game?
40-26.
40-26, yeah. So, I kind of as expected. I'm a pretty big Patrick Mahomes fan myself. I like Patrick Mahomes.
Me too. He's a Mets fan.
I do have to give him a knock. Today, Travis Kelce was in the end zone. He was running, I forget, either a drag or a shallow crossing route towards the edge of the end zone. Mahomes, I don't know if anybody's aware of like how quarterbacks work in the NFL, but a lot of the times quarterbacks will try and look one way and throw another, or they'll look one way and then glance back at the receiver to try to draw safety's corners off of the receiver.
Yeah.
But Mahomes, everyone kind of knows from last year, threw a no-look pass.
Yeah.
So today he decided when Travis Kelce was wide open in the end zone, he wasn't just going to glance, he was going to try and reenact his no-look pass for ESPN highlights, and he actually whiffed on it. He threw it way out of bounds. He could have just thrown it to Travis Kelce wide open in the end zone, but he threw it way out of bounds. So, he was trying to be too flashy, and I'm not a fan of that.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. What else is there to say about that? I mean, going with Patrick Mahomes, he continued to play very stellar quarterback play and whatever. I'd say I was someone who was a little skeptical of him continuing to do as good as he did last year, but he definitely proved me wrong he had 378 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an 88.3 QBR, so he definitely had a really good game. Besides that play that Nick's talking about, which I don't really like either. He definitely proved that he still is the talent that he was last year. I guess next we could talk about... You want to talk about the Browns game?
Sure.
Okay.
The Browns... you want to go? Go ahead.
Okay.
You and capping it off.
So, one of the big things from the Browns game... Well, there's a few big things. First off, going this offseason, the Browns had such high expectations and everything. I mean, it was just one game, but they did basically get blown out by the Titans, who, I could be wrong, but aren't like the most talented team. I'm also not really sure if they are. Are they considered
Titans have been mediocre at best.
Yeah,
I think their best seasons, they went 9-7, 8-8 in the past 5 years. So they have not been a good team.
I didn't think they had a good team. Yeah,
from a certain standpoint, from a general standpoint rather.
But Baker Mayfield did not really play well at all. He had 3 interceptions, only 1 touchdown. And I'm looking at the stats right now. Odell did pretty good, and Landry did pretty good too. But losing to the Titans 43-13 is not a good way to start the season. And one of the other big things was that they had 18 penalties, offense and defense, for the Browns, which definitely highlights how they might not be, I don't know what the right word is. Disciplined enough. Maybe that's the coaching, or just being that it's week 1 and there's a lot of new players on the team. So I'm definitely not down on the Browns. I still have high hopes for them, but it's not a good look to start the season off that way.
Yeah, I agree. This is kind of people's fears when the Browns kind of formed or formulated into this coming out of this offseason. They're all flash and no meat. I don't know if you heard about it, but Odell wore a $350,000 watch on his wrist during the game today.
Yeah.
The game, again, the entire Browns team is all flash. I mean, Baker Mayfield should do less Phil Collins drum banging and maybe a little more practice with Odell in the offseason. Those things would help. I personally want the Browns to win because, I don't know, they're an exciting team. They're a young team. It'd be fun to watch them go from 0-16 to win a championship, but they have a rookie head coach, a team, again, that's all flash, and there's under the hood, they're lacking right now, I believe. And as we said, discipline, right? They have penalties. They have Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry, and a head coach. It's a mix made to explode, and it could explode in a good way or it could explode in a bad way.
Agree with that, and I feel like it's a definite concern for Browns fans to have. It kind of seemed going into the offseason or after the offseason that the Browns were just trying to get fans back on their side with signing these big talented players, but maybe there's not, like you said, a lot of meat to their team. I guess the next game, I don't know, what do you think we should do next?
I guess we'll just go down the list that we have listed.
Okay.
I'd like to cover Antonio Brown, I guess, at the end.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll talk. We'll do the first game that was of the season. So we'll do Packers and the Bears.
Okay. You could go.
All right, you want me to cover this? Packers Bears was Thursday night. Low scoring game, heavy defensive game. The Packers came out on top, I believe, 7-3.
I think it might have been 10-3.
Unsure of that. But yeah,
I'll look.
It wasn't too big of a surprise to see that the game was 10-3.
Okay.
It wasn't so surprised to see the game was so defensive. I mean, the Bears defense, what they did, we're going to do what they do. They held Aaron Rodgers to 10 points. They sacked him 5 times. They got a lot of pressure on him. Khalil Mack had a good game. There weren't too many surprises on the defensive side. A little more on, I don't know, I wouldn't say a surprise side, but interesting, I would put it. The Packers went out, and I don't know if you've been following the Packers drafts or their off season, but the Packers have drafted almost strictly defense for the past 2 or 3 years in a row now.
Huh.
And a majority of their off-season signings, in terms of like free agents, like they got Zadarius Smith from the Ravens, and they signed Adrian Amos. So their defense that they spent draft picks and money on came up really clutch. And even though the Bears have been a mediocre team on offense up until this point in the past since drafting Trubisky. But it seems like their Packers investment is paying off. And They held the Bears to 3 points, so you can't complain about that.
That's fine. I don't really have much to say on this, except go watch our Aaron Rodgers video. And we also have Aaron Rodgers shirts, but we'll talk about that at the end. So the next game, I guess we could do Ravens and Dolphins if you want.
Sure, Ravens and Dolphins was quite an exciting game.
Yeah.
Absolute blowout. Ravens take it 59-10. Ravens kind of slid up at the end. Lamar Jackson had over 400 yards and 6 touchdowns. Quite an incredible game. Also, Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown, went off. The entire Ravens team just absolutely had a field day on the Dolphins. Major takeaways from the game, beyond everyone, the Ravens being so dominant, is that Lamar Jackson kind of surprised everyone. He's looking better than I personally always never gave Lamar Jackson credit. My friend John Carter, huge Lamar Jackson fan, and I'd always bug him about it, saying that Lamar Jackson's a running back, not a quarterback. And after today, it was pretty much all his yards were strictly passing yards, very little rushing yards.
Uh-huh.
So it was an incredible sight to see. I would say Lamar Jackson is looking Michael Vick-esque when he was in his prime.
Huh.
That good.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was, and then in the post-game interviews, Lamar Jackson addressed the media saying, "I did pretty good for a running back." So that was kind of a funny little nod to people calling him a running back.
Yeah.
And on the other side of the ball, the Dolphins were worse than anybody could have imagined. I mean, they were absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
Josh Rosen stepped in late after they started getting blown out, and he threw an interception. The Dolphins seem to have no direction. The talent they have isn't meshing. The Dolphins are just a mess right now, and I honestly could not tell you the solution. They could, in my opinion, after today's game, they could be an 0-16 team. We'll have to see how the season turns out, obviously, though.
One of the other things that I took away, it's not really a takeaway, but once again, I was focused on the Jets game, which we're going to talk about, and as I was watching, I just kept on seeing on the score updates, the Ravens continue to score and the Dolphins just not doing anything. And one of the things that the announcers on the Jets game were saying that the Dolphins, after when everyone gets cut in the preseason, they signed 14 of those players. So obviously their talent that they're playing with is minuscule. And if I didn't know that Ryan Fitzpatrick was on this team, I probably couldn't name one player on Ryan Fitzpatrick and Josh Rosen. But besides that, I probably couldn't name one Dolphins player. And that could come from
I could. Micah Fitzpatrick.
I don't even know who that is.
Drake. They have that dude Drake.
Yeah. But there's no one on this team.
That's true, yeah.
I'm looking through their roster and I don't know their names. And that's kind of surprising for me because I'm pretty okay.
They have the good cornerback. I forget his name. I'm blanking on his name. I don't know why I can't think of his name.
I don't know what that
Xavier Howard. I knew it was a Howard.
Oh.
Yeah, but moral story is they're not very talented, and it's not looking good for them.
Yeah. Which I'm a fan of since I'm a Jets fan, so that's good for me. Talked about the Browns, the Jaguars, Ravens, Packers. We should probably get rid of. We should probably do all the ones that aren't the Jets and the Giants, and then save that.
Yeah, I agree. So Eagles, Redskins.
Sure, you could talk about that.
Sure. The Redskins came out and dominated early. They went up. I think they went up 17-0 before the half. The Eagles looked horrible. Carson Wentz looked horrible. Come out in the second half, completely 360. A complete 360, 180, right?
Yeah.
A complete 180. The Eagles come back to win it, like 30-27, something like that. Close game, but no, it was a bigger gap than that. It was like 22.
I'm trying to get the scoreboard up.
Yeah, I should have got more scoreboards up. 32-27. So yeah, kind of entertaining game. Wentz did well. A standout player that I thought was pretty interesting was Miles Sanders, the running back that they drafted out of Penn State for the Eagles. He flashed a lot of good talent today. He was looking really good. Case Keenum on the Redskins side looked good. Carson Wentz looked good. Darren Sproles was still very very slippery, which is kind of interesting considering the fact that he's 36 years of age.
Wow.
So
I did not realize he was that old.
Yeah, he's pretty old and he's still doing well. No too big surprises out of the game. Eagles come out on top, which everyone figured not in the fashion that everyone would have considered them winning in, but yeah, solid win for the Eagles.
Yeah, I don't really have much to say about this. I guess we'll go on to the next game. So, I guess the Rams and the Panthers.
Sure. Rams-Panthers game was pretty close, a lot closer than everyone thought. The Rams went out to a lead quick. Panthers came back in the end, but the Rams slipped away with the W very late in the game. One thing to note, Todd Gurley did get his normal, roughly, a little bit under his normal amount of reps. So the Rams statements coming out of training camp that he's perfectly fine. It's hard to tell if there's truth behind that because they did lower his reps. The counterpart they have for him there, Malcolm Brown, their backup running back, had more yards and more carries on the day, as well as more attempts, and they used him a lot more than Gurley. And in Malcolm Brown's defense, Malcolm Brown was a lot more productive than Gurley was for a majority of the game. Gurley, I want to say the third quarter, Gurley started to get hot, but beyond that, it just seemed like Malcolm Brown was the way to go for the Rams. So, I'm personally a Gurley fantasy owner, so kind of scares me a little bit. I also have Tom Brady in the bench, so if I'll maybe looking to package those guys, pick up somebody else.
Tom Brady on the bench.
Yeah, I have Patrick Mahomes, my starting quarterback in fantasy. Yeah, so my quarterback situation is pretty good.
Yeah. The one thing, I didn't really pay attention to this game either, but Jared Goff, he had an okay game, but he only had one touchdown and under 200 yards, which is something to keep an eye out on. He did just sign that big contract with that gets him through 2024, I think it is. Mm-hmm. So, could just have been an off game for him, but that's one thing that took away. What's the next game?
McCaffrey had a decent game out of that game, too.
Yeah.
I guess that's about it for the Rams versus Panthers.
Yeah.
I guess the only game that we have left that isn't Giants-Jets would be the Cardinals and Lions, which is currently happening live.
Yeah.
The Lions were up big. Cardinals came back to tie it in the remaining few seconds with the pass to Larry Fitzgerald. I'm actually watching right now. I have Larry Fitzgerald in my fantasy as well. Just picked him up because Antonio Brown was my starting wide receiver, but I subbed in Larry Fitz because Larry Fitz is all reliable. Wound up scoring the game-tying touchdown, and then they had to actually convert a 2-point conversion, which they did as well. Sure. The game went into overtime, and there's 1 second left on the clock right now. Matt Stafford throws it up, and it's done. The game ends in a tie as we speak. So Cardinals and Lions tied, 27-27. Pretty tough battle, both sides of the ball. Kyler Murray looked good late.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say he looked number one pick, but but he looked solid, so not too much to complain about there.
Definitely. Okay, I guess I'll talk about the Jets game first, then we can go into the Giants. All right. So the Jets lost.
I personally did not watch the Jets game, so I'm just going to kind of stick with that.
So I'll just talk about it. So the Jets lost 17-16 to the Bills. The Jets were up 14-3 going into the fourth quarter. They were up 14-0 at 1.2, and they ended up losing in the last 4 minutes of the game, I think it was. It was a kind of weird game, I'd say, because first off, the Bills had 4 turnovers in the first half, and the Jets were only able to score 6 points off of that. So going into halftime, it was 6-0, and all the announcers were focusing on was that how could the Jets only score 6 points with 4 turnovers, which is definitely true, and that was definitely bothersome. But one of the things that I took away from it, well, there are 2 things. First off, either the Bills have a really good pass defense, which I'm pretty sure they do, or the Jets don't really trust Sam Darnold to throw the ball that far, because it seemed for the beginning part of the game, all they were focused on were really short passes or just getting Le'Veon Bell the ball as much as they could. And
I'll butt in there just saying the Bills have a really good secondary between Micah Hyde and Tre'Davious White, Jermaine Edmonds, so that they're pretty good in terms of like secondary linebacker core. Their pass rush is not that great right now because people like Kyle Williams and they had a lot of veterans at pass rushing as pass rushers and their D line. But they did just draft Ed Oliver, so their defense is definitely the highlight of the Bills.
Yeah, definitely.
You may continue.
And the defense was definitely on display, and I didn't really know about their defense before today. It seemed like on every play that Sam Darnold went back on to pass, the Bills were right there ready to sack him. I think they had like 4 to 6 sacks in the game, some weird number like that. And it definitely affected Sam Darnold. He missed some of his passes. He didn't have a terrible game, but it wasn't like an amazing game. The big takeaway for the Jets, well, there's 2. I'd say first off, being able to take advantage of takeaways that the defense gives them. And second, Le'Veon Bell still looks like he's Le'Veon Bell, which is a definitely good thing for the Jets. I mean, there were definitely doubters who were saying Le'Veon Bell can't be what he used to be. He's been gone for too long. But after 600 days of not being in a football game, he definitely looked like he was the same Pro Bowl running back that he was with the Steelers. And for Sam Darnold, that's a big thing for him, I'm sure, since last season their running back situation was nothing close to Pro Bowl level. And in general, I was very annoyed that they lost that game, considering they were up 16-0, but that's just what it is in the NFL, I guess. You want to talk about the Giants?
Sure, I'll just talk a little bit about the little thing to the end about the Jets.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Yeah, I don't know. Le'Veon Bell definitely looked good from the highlights I saw, so that was good. The Jets wound up actually sitting Bilal Powell. Was it Bilal Powell? Is that his name?
Yeah.
Yeah, which I think is a pretty talented running back, so that's a good situation for the Jets. But, thinking about Le'Veon Bell in that situation reminded me of the Redskins today. The Redskins actually, going back to the Redskins game, the Redskins wound up sitting Adrian Peterson, which was pretty interesting, and starting Darius Thompson and Smallwood. It was the first healthy cut or scratch of AP's career, and I personally thought it was really stupid. After the production that Adrian Peterson gave you at 33 years old last year with your horrible, injury-riddled offensive line, he was one of the better running backs in the league last year at his age, and you decide not to play him today. It kind of baffles me. I don't understand why you would do it. If he's healthy, there's nothing wrong. Then why would you not start a talented player? I really don't get it. I guess the announcers were saying, and the kind of general feeling about it is they're trying to give newer running backs, some reps, and they kind of want to convert to that. And have Adrian Peterson coach them from the sideline. My my thing is that, well, Adrian Peterson is not a coach; he's a player, right? Yeah. Like the Giants have Eli Manning, they're going to play him. There's no point to keep him if you're not going to play him at all.
True.
Or at least Eli Manning will be in and around the game. Adrian Peterson, I don't know if watching the game today had really no part in helping the players, mid game or anything like that.
Huh.
So it's just it was kind of an awkward situation, especially for Adrian Peterson sitting on the sideline, not being able to play. It's just I don't know. I disagree with it.
Yeah. One more thing to add about the Jets. Their new signee, Kyle Mosley. I think it's Kyle Mosley. He was probably had the biggest impact on the game in two different ways. First off, when he was playing for this, he got injured halfway in the game, so he was out the second half, which definitely I think had a big impact on the Bills' ability to come back in that game. But when he was in, he was all over the field, knocking balls down, getting to the quarterback and everything like that. So that was definitely a good thing to see, another good addition to the Jets defense. That's it.
All right. I guess we'll take over Giants-Cowboys game. I'll start off with a general comment. Giants are terrible. I mean, they're absolute hot garbage. I am embarrassed to be a Giants fan after watching that game. The Giants' offense, honestly, not that bad. Saquon Barkley put up 140 yards from scrimmage, 120 yards from rushing, 120 rushing yards. I saw a lot of tweets on Twitter from Cowboys fans saying that, Saquon's in a sophomore slump, that he's garbage, which I really don't get because he put up 140 yards and like 10 carries on you.
Yeah, so it doesn't sound like a slump.
I don't know. I hate Cowboys. Cowboys and Cowboys fans might be like the only team I actually dislike in the NFL. Everybody's okay. Even like Redskins fans, Eagles fans, they don't really bother me. It's just the Cowboys. But
Patriots?
Even the Patriots I can deal with. We'll get to them in a minute. But so yeah, Giants versus Cowboys game. Cowboys won it 35-17. It was pretty much an entire blowout. The Giants wound up putting in Daniel Jones in late. The highlight, okay. I'll start on the Giants' offensive side. Eli Manning looked good. Made a few mistakes here and there that Eli Manning's going to do Eli Manning. The man's 38. Offensive line looks solid for the Giants. Not too terrible considering the fact that the Cowboys have an amazing pass rush at this point. So I would say the Giants' offensive line held their own. They weren't great, but they weren't anywhere near as bad as they have been in the past. Sterling Shepard looked good. Saquon looked good. Saquon broke a nice 59-yard run off the bat at the beginning of the game. It was pretty sight to see. I want Saquon to get as many yards as he can because he is my MVP prediction. So I feel like in the garbage time, just give Saquon the ball and let him pick up an extra 100 rushing yards. He's not going to get injured. He's Saquon Barkley. He won't. Giants defensively, it's probably one of the worst defensive performances I think I've ever seen out of an NFL football team. I personally didn't watch the Dolphins game today, but out of all the games I watched today, the Giants defense is horrible. The Giants have Miami. Oh, I just got a breaking news. Apparently, as I spoke about Miami players reportedly seeking to be moved after 59-10 loss to Ravens. Apparently, there's multiple players requesting a trade on the Dolphins. Wow,
oh, boy,
that's pretty terrible.
They're in a situation down there.
That is pretty bad. Going back to the Giants, though, they couldn't. Their coverage was horrible. Their pass rush was horrible. The linebackers were not good. Specifically in coverage, the Giants wound up starting a cornerback by the name of Antonio Hamilton last minute. No one really knew that he was starting or even considered him to start until they were warming up for game time. He was in the starting reps. He wound up starting and he was absolutely awful in coverage. I mean, throughout I want to say the first half, maybe even the first three quarters, he was responsible by himself for about 80% of the Cowboys offense. I mean, he was just awful. The Cowboys, I think, threw 3 times as many passing plays as they did rushing plays. And I want to say, again, majority of their passes were thrown at Antonio Hamilton. The Cowboys were targeting him, awful in coverage. If I was the Giants, I would never start him again. I would even consider cutting him because that was terrible. DeAndre Baker, the Giants' rookie cornerback, who I disagree with them drafting, but you guys have seen that in my articles. If you've read my articles on sportuniverse.com, I didn't like him. I wasn't my favorite cornerback coming out of the draft, but I don't hate him. He didn't do as bad, but he still was not good. He has a lot to learn. And Antoine Bethea looked very slow. He got beat over the top on a play by Amari Cooper. Talented, veteran player, but old, slow. What you expect. Linebackers were mediocre at best. The pass rush was just non-existent. Dexter Lawrence, B.J. Hill got injured early in the game. He got poked in the eye. Dexter Lawrence was probably the best defensive lineman in the game, and I don't think we got one sack, not one. I don't know honestly, but it was awful. People after this game might even say fire James Bettcher, the Giants defensive coordinator, but it wasn't his fault at all. I'm looking. James Bettcher, essentially, the reason Giants got beat so bad was a lot of the times the Cowboys would throw it over the top. And the Giants didn't have the players back there to cover because they were sending them on blitzes because the Giants were blitzing 6 guys at once and not getting to the quarterback at all. No pressure whatsoever. Yeah. So it was an awful sight to see on defense. Defense was non-existent. Very upset as a Giants fan. In terms of the Cowboys, I just want to talk about the Cowboys. The Cowboys look really good. Defensively, they were about what you expected. They've been getting a lot more talent and a lot more sound as over the past year or two. So they seem to be a very good defense. The Cowboys' offense, obviously everyone knows is talented, but I think they actually hired a new offensive coordinator this year by the name of Kellen Moore. He was their quarterback coach last year. This is stuff that I picked up while I was watching the game. His offense, I feel, is going to be very effective in the weeks going forward, and I'm going to say it now. I think Cowboys might be a dark horse team for the Super Bowl after watching them today. Their defense was absolutely sound, great pass rush, great coverage. But even on offense, here's the thing with the Cowboys offense. The majority of the players of what we've seen in the past, a lot of zone runs for Zeke, a lot of heavy sets and then throws deep. Screens for Zeke, a lot of utilization of Zeke and their wide receivers, trying to isolate them one-on-one, stuff like that. They looked very good while running those plays, but what Kellen Moore did with the Cowboys, and I guess Jason Garrett helped too, is that their entire offense consists of nonstop motion. What I mean by that is they'll come out in one formation, switch the formation again, fake hike it, and then switch the formation again. And, this happened to the Giants, and I'm sure it'll happen, if they Cowboys continue to run this type of offense. It confuses defense because they don't know what they're running, who's going where, especially if they're in man coverage. It's going to be pretty tough to run man coverage on a team like that, if players are constantly switching where they are in the field. So it was very confusing, from a defensive standpoint to watch the formation switch so many times and then hike it. Also, a little last note about the Cowboys. Jason Witten looked pretty decent. He's very old as well. He looks extremely, even slower than he was before he retired. But he still has good hands, and he still has the football knowledge. So I think he wound up scoring a touchdown or two.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's about all I got to say about that game.
All right, I think that's... Antonio Brown. I'll talk about it for a little bit, then Nick can talk. I feel like I've covered Antonio Brown for a while now with the Sport Universe Reacts that I've been doing. Go watch them.
Just posted yesterday. Go watch it.
Yeah, it did. Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Okay. So, Antonio Brown signed with the Patriots after being cut from the Raiders. I think he's eligible to play next week. He can't play this week, obviously. The big thing for me that still really bothers me about the whole situation is how just childish he was. I mean, the things he was posting on YouTube about very important things that were going on with the Raiders, he was just posting on YouTube. And his last big thing that he did, he posted his reaction to see that he was released from the Raiders, and he was so excited and was saying he's free and calling his grandmother saying he's free and just being really excited. It kind of pissed me off. Antonio Brown as a person also pisses me off now, so I don't really have anything else to say about him.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like Antonio Brown bringing every single detail into the media and recording John Gruden and putting him on YouTube and then showing himself celebrating over Instagram or whatever it was that he got released. Number one, all unnecessary, and number two, again, like childish. He could have been a professional about it and saying, yes, I wanted release. I didn't like my situation there. Instead, he decides to post a video of himself running around frolicking that he got released. So it's just, I don't know. I still like Antonio Brown as a player, and I don't know. It's just, it's tough. At the end of the day, he got released. It kind of was expected at this point, after everything that happened, that it was definitely going to be a possibility he got released. Apparently, I actually read this not too long ago. I think it was today. There was reports that the Raiders tried to trade him Thursday night, but nobody wanted him because of his contract and the drama, obviously. So they ended up releasing him. He's on the Patriots now. Everyone's saying that, there's a big debate. Everyone was joking the Patriots are going to pick him up, and I actually thought that they were, beyond just like the memes.
Yeah.
People are saying, he doesn't fit the culture. Well, I 100% disagree. Like, the Patriots have a set culture, and they're willing to take anybody into it, as long as those players are willing to adapt into the culture, as long as they're strict on their football. And, Patriot football is all about being very clean in terms of, like, technique and how they run things. And, Josh Gordon struggles with that. And Josh Gordon on the Patriots versus Josh Gordon on the Browns is totally two different Josh Gordons. Josh Gordon on the Patriots, you won't hear much about what happens with his substance abuse. But on the Browns, you hear everything about it. Stuff like that. The Patriots, I don't want to say they're good at covering up things, but because they're not really big cover-up guys, they're more correcting.
Yeah.
They really don't tolerate that stuff. So if there was any team that I feel like was going to take Antonio Brown, it was going to be the Patriots.
Yeah, I'd agree.
I think they'll be able. They're the best equipped team to handle his situation and the way he acts, as well as I think that Antonio Brown would feel happiest there. They're a culture of winning. They're a culture of respecting their players, and so yeah, I think it was a good move for Antonio Brown. Good move for the Patriots. Pretty terrible move for the rest of the NFL. They just got better. Hopefully, Gronk doesn't decide to come out of retirement and make that offense ridiculous. But so yeah, I mean, Antonio Brown drama kind of pretty bad. But him going to the Patriots seems like a good restitution for the situation in terms of Antonio Brown himself and the Patriots. So
maybe he could figure out how to be a better human being.
Yeah.
I think that's all our NFL stuff. Do you want to get into college football, or?
I would like to briefly go over it.
Okay, you could go over it. I do not follow college football, so I'm not going to be adding anything.
I briefly follow it, and I just wanted to include it because I know college football, and like after I haven't been into college football too much, but over like the past 2-3 years, I started watching it. I have to say, I kind of enjoy it more than I watch NFL football because it's less. It's less technique and less cleanliness, and it's more like grit and heart, and it's fun to watch. And also, like, the fans are more passionate because there's not just I'm rooting for this professional organization, I'm rooting for my hometown, I'm rooting for the school that I went to. There's a little more heart behind everything. Huh. And the fact that there's a bigger talent gap in college football kind of makes it exciting too.
That's true.
So that's kind of why I got into college football. A couple of recaps of the games. Clemson won. No surprise there. I'm not sure when Alabama plays next. I'm just tracking like the top 4 teams. Georgia's 2-0, I think. They're in the 3rd spot. Major game of the week was LSU beating Texas. There was this clip that the LSU quarterback, I think, told the Texas fans to like shush or something like that, or he waved at them goodbye. I think he waved at them goodbye. That's what it was. So that was a little interesting. Largely, bigger surrounding that situation was that LSU winning. They moved them into the ranking of a 4 slot, national ranking of 4 slot, moving Oklahoma back down to 5 after Oklahoma's mediocre defensive performance. Jalen Hurts looked good for last week for Oklahoma, but the defense is pretty bad. So they fell to the 5 spot in the national rankings, and LSU moved up to 4. I think the major upset of the week was BYU wound up beating Tennessee. Tennessee now moves to 0-2. thus keeping their team very cursed.
Huh.
On smaller schools notes, I track Wake Forest. I believe Wake Forest. Small difficulties. I'll continue. So I follow Wake Forest. They ended up winning. And in terms of my school, Villanova wound up winning, I believe, 38-10 versus Lehigh yesterday. Pretty exciting game. I went to it. It was fun to go to.
Yeah.
I didn't have a college football team in my last school, so it was fun to watch a football team play. Go Wildcats. Also, I forgot to mention that Oregon blew out Nevada 77-6. That was probably the major blowout of the week. Last part, which is kind of like going to be our controversial topic, but also like a personal story of mine, is about defensive back John Huggins. So John Huggins is a kid is a guy, I guess, at this point, right? He was a defensive back for Florida last semester. I'll just talk about his professional career for right now. He was like a three-star recruit coming out of high school. The Florida picked him up. He performed well in special teams last year. He was set to possibly a breakout starter for the Gators this year, who the Gators are. I think are top 10 in national rankings. I think they're 11, something along those lines. So they're a very good team this year. And John Huggins was supposed to start for them and probably be a game changer. So then there was a scandal that happened, and he wound up getting dropped from the team. You know, they cut him. And he wound up setting up Robert Madison University or something along those lines. I think it's a Division I AA team, not a Division I. Which Division I A are your larger schools like Oklahoma, Alabama, Clemson. Where Division AA is like Villanova, Wake Forest. You know, smaller schools that are still Division I. So he moved to a smaller Division I school. What supposedly happened was he choked out a tutor. There's no saying if that's true or not now. That's the rumor that's been sent around. Apparently, he hired an attorney that's denying the claims, and they're trying to combat it in the media, but that's what the media is reporting. John Huggins is actually a kid that I went to elementary school with here in New York, and he wound up moving to Florida after I moved away from the school that we both shared. So, it was kind of exciting to see a kid that I went to school with go to such a, be like a cornerback at such a large school like the Gators, and, possibly make a shot, take a shot at the NFL. Kind of sucks. If the rumor's true, it's pretty horrible. I can't imagine why you would choke your tutor.
Jesus Christ. If
it's for other reasons, it'll probably come out at some point, the truth, right? Or the other version of the truth.
Yeah.
We may never know what the real truth is, but another story. So yeah, it's kind of sad to see it. A kid that I knew, that happened to him. Whether maybe not sad for him or sad for the person that he choked out. We don't know the full story, so
sad to see him go down that road.
Yeah, that's something a little bit I wanted to cover, and I guess we don't really have a controversial statement because we're kind of running low on those.
Yeah.
Since you guys, there hasn't been anything too controversial come out, and if it is, we kind of covered it. Something like Antonio Brown. I don't know. This makes me question. I'll ask you the question, Brian. How do you think? What do you feel about second chances? Put you on the spot here, so let's see what you say. We did not talk about this before.
Yeah.
I'll give him some
what do
time
you
to
mean by
think.
second chances? In what sense?
In terms of so I'll go back to another example. Dakota Allen, who actually just got drafted out this year, went to Texas Tech. Who actually I would like to talk about. He got cut from the Rams, which kind of sucked because he had a really good preseason. But he was the kid that he was at Texas Tech, was doing very well there. He wound up doing a home invasion, a robbery. I couldn't tell you. This is the backstory of why he did it. It's kind of rough. Presumably he was short on money and decided, I'm not hurting anybody. I just want to earn a little bit of money. And my friends told me I'm not going to get caught. Dumb decision, but at the end of the day, he kind of figured he wasn't hurting anybody. So obviously, once Texas Tech found out that he did it, he dealt with the law. He didn't wind up catching a felony. All he had to do was community service. He got cut from Texas Tech. East Mississippi picked him up, community college. He went back to Texas Tech, and now then he got drafted by the Rams to cut him. I'd imagine some team picks him up for a practice squad at some point. Or I think he might even be on the Rams practice squad. I'm unsure. But, second chances like that where Texas Tech decided to take him back and give him another shot at the NFL, which he actually did pretty well with.
Yeah. Definitely, in some cases, they're deserved. For me, I'm definitely a stickler for like criminal actions and everything like that. And what really irks me the wrong way is when sometimes they have the right intentions, like maybe the kid you just mentioned had to do it for money and had to like. There's always like that thing like, would you steal if you needed to buy medicine for someone that was dying or something like that? You didn't have the money. But when these kids, such as John Huggins, we don't know the full details, but when these kids who have this talent that not many kids have, and it's a rare ability to do things that could get you in the NFL, could get you to make a lot of money, and they just put it all on the line just to do some stupid act like choking someone out or something like that. I don't think those kids deserve a second chance if it's something that there's no reason for it. And I also feel that the criminal activity that they do, it depends. If they're killing someone, definitely not. But in certain cases, I believe that like second chances are definitely allowed and should be allowed. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm pretty big on second chances too. I feel like nobody's perfect, especially like in terms of John Huggins. I don't know if it's true that he choked at the tutor. I wouldn't even cut him. Maybe I'd discipline him, right?
Yeah.
This is actually a big thing that Nick Saban addressed last week. It was pretty big on the news that Nick Saban's huge into second chances. He's like, these kids are 18, 19, 20-year-olds. You know, they're going to make dumb decisions. Why cut them and ruin the rest of their lives rather than just discipline them and hopefully they learn from it? You know, at a certain point, you gotta say, you know, enough is enough. But, you know, like smoking weed or like a small home invasion where they know the person's not home and they're just trying to get money. Although in both incidents, I feel they're obviously wrong and they obviously both deserve punishments. I don't feel like they should end people's careers, right?
Yeah. They're
just dumb decisions and, you know, from desperate people or, you know, not experienced people.
I guess for me, it's
so like in terms of like John Huggins, you know, if the story turns out to be true, if I was the Gators, I might just discipline him and like try to figure out the reason behind it. I may have not even cut him altogether. You know, it depends how bad the choking was. But if it's like he just put his hands around the person's throat out of anger, like didn't really like, you know, try and harm them, you know, the logistics of it, you know, hasn't been released and it's kind of hard to say. But I'm hoping people get the gist, you know, like the intent and what actually happened matters.
There's some part of me that does feel like I get what you're saying, but also sometimes there has to be like consequences for things like that.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know. I just want to bring up another story just to help reemphasize my point. Okay. Kareem Hunt, everyone knows what happened. Yeah. He wound up, the woman winded up, they probably both wound up getting drunk at a bar. Mistake number one, really, right there. Yeah. Getting too drunk. Probably the woman tried to attack him. You know, this is all on video. This has all been covered. Just in case people don't know, I'll recap it. The woman followed him back to his hotel room. Kareem Hunt didn't want her there. You know, maybe some type of relationship was going on there. We don't know. Okay. Otherwise, regardless, Kareem Hunt said, "I don't want you here. Here's money. Take an Uber home." She winded up yelling racial slurs at him. She got in his face, so Kareem Hunt pushed her. She got back in his face. Kareem Hunt pushed her to the ground again, and I think he wound up trying to kick her while she was down, and I think he was either successful or very light. It wasn't a hard kick. He wasn't like really trying to overharm her. I think he was just drunk and angry at that point. But I think it's a mistake. I think he deserves to be punished, yeah, but I don't feel like what he did was that wrong, right? He told her to leave. He gave her multiple opportunities to leave him alone. Yeah. She said racial slurs and
we had some more technical difficulties. Nick, keep going.
Sure. I just wanted to cap it off. You know, he gave her multiple opportunities to leave him alone, and they racial slurs, etc., etc. So, I honestly feel like that shouldn't be something that he shouldn't get away with 100%. So he should get reprimanded for it, but you know, not to the point where he should be banned from the NFL or anything like that. He made a stupid mistake, but I don't feel like it should crucify him.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. That's a good example of what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I guess that's it for this week's podcast. Nick, you have any final words?
Sure. 2K20 is out, so all you basketball 2K20 fans, Have fun playing 2K. Game's been kind of bad so far. A lot of glitches, a lot of bugs.
Yeah.
I've been pretty busy with work here at Villanova, so I really haven't been able to play too much. I guess that's it. Give my regional spiel. This podcast is a work in progress. We lost Jonathan. We're both busy with school. We try to do it the best we can. Try to spend at least 30 minutes beforehand, try to set it up. Take down some notes, try to collect as much material as we can. Hope to improve it each week. Hope you guys keep subscribing and then watching the videos, watching the podcasts. We'll hope to make it better and better each week, especially if you guys leave us feedback, comments, email us, whatever it is. Again, video games, pretty much anything you guys want to contact, talk to me about, any opinions, questions, anything, you can contact me at nicholas.horvath10@yahoo.com or find me on my Instagram at nick.horvath. So yeah, that's about all I got to say. Go Wildcats, go Giants, even though the Giants suck. Brian?
One thing to add to that, we're both dealing with some type of sickness right now, so if you heard me blowing my nose, it wasn't anything else besides blowing my nose. So we'll be back next week with another podcast. Like Nick said, let us know what you thought of this in the comments and whatnot.
T-shirts.
Oh, right. So we have 2 T-shirts on the Sport Universe Teespring store. It's called the Storefront. First one, it's the Andrew Luck shirt, and then we came out with an Aaron Rodgers shirt, trying to make them punny and whatnot. So if you want to buy them, buy them. I think they're $17. Yeah. So if you want to use $17 to buy a shirt, do that. Check out our videos.
Do it.
Yeah.
Check out them to take off so we can start selling more cool ones.
Yeah, that would be nice. Check out our videos on YouTube. Daily content. We're up to 74 subscribers. Get us to 80. Get us to 100. That'd be great. If we could get to 1,000 subscribers soon, there's a T-shirt giveaway at that point. So that would be fun. Keep reading our articles. There's an article coming out today. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday we try to post articles, and then every day on the YouTube. So check out for that. If you have any interest in writing for us or editing videos or maybe helping us figure out what to do with Instagram, contact us at thesportuniverse2019@gmail.com. And thanks for listening.